Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. Wear a mask, because I have the flu. I'll wear a mask. I'll do my part, Ray. And honestly, Ray, we have the perfect setup because we don't need to mask up in the Storm Cellar currently because we're both vaccinated for one. And the 1,800 miles should prevent you from getting my flu, sir.
That's exactly. And we've had our issues going through our house as well. It's passed, which is nice. Much like the snow that used to be on the ground, it is gone. So knock on wood, we can keep it away for a little while longer. Yeah, mask up and my goodness, just that can really wear a guy down. Kudos to you for bringing it here. You just had a nice holiday that was, affected by the illness, and you're still ready to go here in the Storm Cellar.
The kiddo was a little sick. My wife got sick. Luckily, it was after we hit Universal for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So it was during the relaxation beach portion of the trip. And then, of course, I started to get sick when we got home. But
oh, man.
I built in, 3 days of at-home time before I have to go back to work tomorrow. Although, working for a university, I only work Monday and Tuesday this week.
Oh.
I'm awfully close to just telling my boss that I'm not coming in. I'm definitely considering it. Or at least just saying, I'm going to come in, and if something urgent happens, I'm jumping on it. But if nothing is like a high priority thing, I'm not touching it till next week.
Oh, man, I don't blame you. The illness, when you're feeling sick, and especially guys, it can decimate us. You know what I mean? Like, you feel like you're on your deathbed and stuff. And our wives will always tease us for those things, right? The man cold is next to the Black Plague in fact.
See, I'm easy though. I don't know how you are. So like when I feel like this, leave me alone. I'm going to sleep 20 hours a day if I can get away with it, and drink ginger ale or something like that. And I don't want anything. Like I don't need to be pampered. I don't need if I can just be left alone to sleep, I am in great shape.
I'm kind of the same way, but there's a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth. I'll say that. It's like, I think I'm gonna die. Oh, I mean, it's that sort of thing that kind of makes Carolyn crazy. But that it is what it is. We'll suffer through. But thankfully, we've got something to talk about and help us get our minds off the illness that we're facing and look at the illness that the Hurricanes have kind of been facing. This is a weird one, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
Like they went 5-3 since we last recorded, right? We had Minter on last episode 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And they went 5-3, but 2 of those 3 losses really stick out. I mean, the Florida loss was just abysmal.
Yep.
And the Flyers loss the other night was just awful. Right.
I think abysmal is the right word for that one too. It was. We're
tied for second in the Metro with Washington, 3 points back of the Rangers, but we've played 2 more games in those teams too, which is unusual for the Canes. Normally, we're the ones who have games in hand, and we don't this time.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. We'll get to it shortly because something's going on. Something's not quite clicking. You see a win like last night and you start to think, okay, maybe they're putting the pieces together, right? Like the Lightning game, 5-2. And then, the Lightning game was
4-0.
Excuse me, it was the Panthers game that was 5-2, that ugly game.
Eesh.
But then they come out and like they did against Philly and just play awful. And the lack of consistency is concerning. I think my biggest thing is, and we'll get into this more in a bit, but 2 years ago, we could be down by 2 with 5 minutes to play. And I was texting you like, we got 5 minutes, dude. It's only 2 goals. Like, they can win.
Yeah.
This. And I no longer feel that way most nights. It's like, if we're down by 2 goals and there's, 5 or 10 minutes to go, it's like, well, Who's the next opponent, right?
Yeah, it's a strange
they had.
It's a strange situation, what we're going through now, and I think this is the risk that always comes with success and continued steady success, because in the past, in the dark days, when we were in this situation and so forth, and we had games like the ones against Philly and the one against Florida, the Panthers, which was just an abomination, like, oh my gosh, it was just atrocious. It was more expected. It was more like the way we looked at it was different. Now that we've had all of this great success, the bar is set higher. And when the bar is set higher and you don't reach it with the consistency that the Hurricanes have for so long, fans start getting antsy, myself included.
Yeah.
And I want that fixed. You nip those in the bud. You know what I mean?
We've said before, this might be the best Hurricanes team on paper all time. Yep. And so we're looking for the best results of all. Maybe that's not fair to the players, but we got 20 points tied for second in the Metro with Washington, who's not good. The good news is the goal differential is positive for us. And at the end of the season, if you want to look at a stat and say, where are you going to end up, look at goal differential. Generally, your playoff teams have positive goal differentials. Your non-playoff teams don't. So, it's just a matter of, finding the mean, right? And at some point, it's going to shake out. So,
yeah. Let's get into this. But I think where we're going to start, though, is off the ice. And earlier this week, we had a catastrophe. For some, the announcement of the Whalers night attire that our beloved squad is going to be wearing. It's going to be outstanding. The Whaler white uniform for the first time, and it looks glorious. Now, in the warm-up, they'll be wearing the Cooperalls.
I love Cooperalls, man. I wish they were banned. The league banned them, for those who don't know. I would love to see them play an outdoor game against Boston, in Cooperalls, in like the blue Whaler sweaters. Like, that would be my vacation for the year.
Now, they didn't have the Cooperalls experiment, which, as I recall, there were only, I know of two teams for sure. I cannot remember the other one. It was the Whalers and the Philadelphia Flyers that wore. I don't know if anyone else.
I don't know that anybody else did. Those are the two that I think of that did Coops.
100%. And it was a one and done. They wouldn't be able to do it in blue because they didn't have the blue jerseys when they did it. This was 82.
Really want a blue Whalers jersey.
I'm with you. I'm with you too.
That was more for me than it was for historical accuracy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I love it. And then of course now that so they can have the Cooperalls for the warm up, and they'll be looking great. And they posted all of those pictures, and then something happened. It was an explosion of anger from Connecticut. And I'm trying to find the polite way to figure this out, because back in the day, and it's how I got my Twitter nickname, Judge Wapner. I was the go-between. I was the one that was trying to keep everyone from killing each other and remembering that the players are all the same. And this is not something that you get angry at the other fans for, right? This is, right. It's a business move made by certain people that couldn't go through. And this week, I wanted to just really get angry and say, come on, Whaler fans, understand this is the history, and it may hurt. Certainly, it does hurt for some to see the Whalers being still worn again, because it makes you think of the days when you lost the team. The problem is wearing the Whalers jerseys now is a way to honor history. You honor the history of your club. Now, the Hurricanes don't go far enough, in my estimation. And a few other great fans and members that have been in the storm cellar as well have stated the same thing. If we want to honor the full history of the Whalers, then you know what? Retire those jersey numbers from Hartford as well.
Absolutely.
Which makes total, complete sense. I would love to see them actually play the Whaler game in Hartford. That would be a great one, although me seeing that in my head as a means to honor their history may not be received that way in Hartford. In fact, I think the strange thing being honoring their history by playing a game in Hartford would get them booed by their own. Like, that's the danger that would have. You know what I mean? But
I don't know.
Hurricanes fans are loving it. Hurricane fans are jacked up every single game. Every single game. In Raleigh, you see the Whalers jerseys there. They bought in. They're honoring their history. They get it. So why the hate?
Yeah, it's like part of me feels surprised every time this comes up. Mostly because I shouldn't be surprised. But it's been 26 years since the team relocated. And I understand that wound might cut very deep for some people. But for example, in the videos and stuff making the rounds, this past week, those guys look like they probably were like 10 when the Whalers moved. It's not.
I don't even think they were that old.
It's not like they were like 80-year-old dudes who had seen the Whalers, come into Hartford and been there the whole time. Like, these are younger. They're certainly younger than us.
Yes.
As far as I could tell, by probably at least a decade or two. But I've always come down to this point. And for those of you who might remember, in 97, to talk sports on the internet, you mostly had the ESPN message board. That was the de facto play.
Yep.
And it was awful. It was just Whalers fans and other, hockey fans just bashing, fans of this team who just got relocated.
Yeah.
And I've always said, and even people in the comments this week on like social media were like, well, if it was, if the Hurricanes got relocated, you'd be upset. And like, I would be upset.
Of course.
At the owner.
Yes.
I what I said online was like, were there any signs like in Raleigh, like, hey, bring the Whale here, from the fans, like, bring us the Whale, move them out of Hartford? No, because it just kind of happened all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And you can be mad at the Hurricanes fans, but it's silly.
It is.
There were no Hurricanes fans to speak of. Like, we were Ice Caps fans if we were hockey fans at all. We
Right.
might have been Generals fans. We might have been Thunderbirds fans. But that was it. So if you want to be mad at Karmanos, to this day, I still don't like the guy. And he gave us a hockey team, and I still think he's a bum. Yeah. So I think the anger is misdirected. It's been a year since we've mentioned A Whale's Tale. That podcast is going to come out this year, I promise. A lot of things have been going on. We're going to deep dive. And part of that's going to be inviting Whalers fans and Whalers Booster Club and those folks to come on and say, give us your take.
Yep.
But let's at least get to the heart of some of what happened, because Peter Karmanos wanted to move the team. I know he made the promises, if you get so many season ticket sales and do this and do that. A, I don't think he thought they were going to do it. And B, in the mall, like the corporate sponsorship, like there wasn't enough. It just wasn't going to happen. Like, gate sales can only take you so far, right?
Yeah.
But that's not Hurricanes fans' fault. And
Nope.
the problem that I see, part of the problem that I see is you now have Hurricanes fans who hate Whalers night because for the same reason, right? They're like, it's a cash grab, it's this, it's that, you know, forget Hartford. It's like, but that's part of your history, it's part of your identity. But there's a small subset of, you know, those very vocal, and I don't even know if they're real Whalers fans or if they just are, you know, people, you know, shouting at the moon. But you do have a subset of Hurricanes fans now that are like, forget the Whalers. Like, I don't want to, like, they're the Hurricanes, you know, that's it. And I kind of understand their viewpoint given the backlash, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you. I've always said, you know, Kevin Dineen's 11 should be up in the rafters. And I think it will be, but it's going to have Jordan Stahl's name on it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and to me, that's, you know, that's sad. I mean, for the Hurricanes fans who don't like the Whalers and want nothing to do with the Whalers, I think it's disingenuous unless you're going to, you know, say that we should not have retired Ron Francis's jersey. Francis played 10 years for the Whale. He only played 6 in Carolina.
Yeah.
And as a GM, he did he drafted well, and some of those things are paying dividends, but he wasn't a great GM in my opinion. I mean, we had a lot of mediocrity with him as you know, running hockey ops here.
Yeah.
But he was, you know, the second leading assist person all time in the NHL. Most of those came when he was with the Whale or the Penguins. But we honor that legacy. We say, you know, before RBA, I think Ron Francis was the sole choice of like Mr. Franchise, like, right, Mr. Hurricane. Well, if you're not going to, you know, support and acknowledge the Whaler history, then you can't do that. You know, Glenn Wesley's the same way. Like, you know, that's one of the other retired, you know, jerseys. Now, he only played 3 years, I think, in Hartford.
Right.
He got there 94, 95, and he came with them, you know, when they moved.
Yeah.
But that's another one. Like, and now that's a different thing. I've said before, I love Glenn Wesley. I don't know that he was retire his jersey. I don't know that he hit that personally, but I loved him as a player. I thought he was a fantastic guy. But so we can't just separate, right? We can't pick and choose what parts of it we're going to honor, what parts we're not. You know, we can't say Ron Francis is part of the Hurricanes franchise with his just phenomenal career and then say, you know, I don't care about anything about Hartford. Like, I don't want Whalers night. I mean, you know, there needs to be a little give and take, I think, on the issue. And is it a cash grab? Yeah, in part it is a cash grab. But the fans love it.
Yeah.
I mean,
look,
my size in those jerseys is already sold out, like within like 2 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is it a cash grab? Yeah, it's a little bit of a cash grab. It's also been 26 years. So why are we still complaining about it?
It's no matter how many years and how long this goes for Carolina and Raleigh and the Hurricanes, we're still going to have our past. Our past involves the Whalers. And it is, I mean, look, it is probably one of the greatest cash, you know, grabs and money-making opportunities ever because, frankly, the whale's tail and the Whalers logo is the best sports logo of all time.
Any sport all time, for sure.
Any sport all time. Hartford Whalers, number one. Look at the Hurricanes jersey with the flags. They do the same. They use the same negative space concept that the Whalers did. It's paying tribute, paying homage to the great history in hockey, and it's passionate and it's meaningful, and you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. And
accept it. Accept your history.
Yeah, I think, like I said, some of it I think is people just yelling at the moon for no reason.
Well,
pulling like an Abe Simpson. And the two things that stick out, one is in the video that went out, the guy was like, "This is theft. You can't do that." And the Hurricanes own the rights to all that Whaler stuff.
Yep.
They can. They own it. Like, they can do whatever they want. That's one. And two is one of the comments I saw from somebody who was very upset is, well, what are they going to do next? Play, you know, brass bonanza when they score? Like, yeah. and they've been doing it for 2 decades, or for a decade anyway. Not
Yeah,
because Carmanos didn't care, but yeah, that's part of it. Like, yes, like that's the best golf song in history. I'm no
it
offense to
is.
P. Pablo. I know P. Pablo is probably a huge, fan of the Storm Cellar, but I would take Brass Bonanza again, especially with like a live band, like a live
Oh
5-piece or something.
man,
Be amazing,
that would be
right?
fantastic, wouldn't it?
I mean, yeah. To me, Whalers Night should no longer be a controversy. Like everybody has their opinions. It's all played out. Nobody's switching sides at this point. Everybody kind of feels the way they feel. Maybe a new Whalers podcast called The Whale Tale. Maybe that will change some minds.
We can
Hopefully
hope
for the better, right? But I don't know. It just felt like another, let's say something that's, kind of shocking that we know is going to go viral and then block everybody from North Carolina, apparently.
Well, yeah. But now look, and I think the both of us, me more so, probably put them on blast, which is unlike the Judge Wapner name that I acquired, which was an adjudicator between two rather than picking a side. But it's enough. This is our history, and I, for one, am thoroughly happy that they're accepting it and tipping a cap to it once a year, and the fact that they're doing it with the white jersey. Did you say that they're already sold out? The Adidas ones are already sold out,
but in the 2 sizes I could wear, they sold out already. Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, the gray ones have been fine, but a predominantly gray jersey to me, no matter whose it is kind of blah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of look at
the logo
Vegas.
Pops in the white,
but
that's the thing.
Or just saying, PR team, Mike Foreman and Dan, blue. Just saying, blue.
Yeah.
The blue ones are the dopest ones there. Just throwing it out there for you for next year.
It's just outstanding. Look into it, guys. Look into it. So we'll put that to rest for now, and I'm sure it'll be picked up again the next Whalers night because there'll be more people. Yeah, I'm sure we will. But let's talk about the controversy of the team, and we kind of touched at it at the start. Who's buying in and who's not, and what is going on? We all season long, Rod had been mentioning, and post-game interviews, even on wins, where not everyone is jumping on board, and not, we're not all pulling the rope in the same direction, and so even the games we won, some of them were ugly, and Rod was making a point of saying we're not all on the system, and it's we're near the end. Well, we're mid-November now. We've got 17 now, but we were 16 games in, and Hurricanes hockey, quote unquote, Hurricanes hockey was played maybe 3 or 4 of those 16 games, maybe. Where we had the whole everyone on board doing everything, playing the right way, and it was getting frustrating, and we cannot, again, the bar is set high. Rod kept saying it. We had Martinook, he threw his 2 cents in there a couple of times, kind of saying this is the situation. But after the game earlier this week, the captain spoke. And sure, he does interviews, but this one was different. There was real frustration. You could hear it in his voice. And the fact that he was the one that kind of led the charge. I mean, his comments were like Rod said, I didn't hear what he said, but yeah, he knows. He's telling the story. And what I was wanting to ask you was, does everyone jump on board now since Jordan Stahl spoke?
I would hope so. I mean, he's got a lot of, he's got a lot of sway in that locker room.
Yeah.
Right. And his line isn't scoring, but they're doing all the other things. And not that it's put up or shut up, but the biggest thing to me is we've never heard this before. Like since the first day Rod walked in as coach, he commands enough respect that people were like, okay, like this is the way coach says we're going to do it. This is what we're going to do. Right. So for multiple times from different people now, for it to come out like guys haven't bought in, etc., that's incredibly concerning to me.
Mm-hmm.
Although the more I've thought about it, I wonder if, and Rod kind of backed up, his statement a little bit. He kind of backtracked a little bit. I think it was yesterday, day before. And when he says bought in, I wonder if that's less about the newer guys, right? Bunting and Lemieux and whatnot, about them not playing Hurricanes hockey than it is guys who should know better. And I'm going to pick on Marty Natchez a little bit for a second.
That's where I was going to
do too much.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so initially when he said that, I'm like, oh boy, like, if there's a problem in the locker room, that's an issue. And despite what I know people on social media are going to say, I didn't think it was Tony DeAngelo. Because he's here and he kept his nose clean because he knows this is his last shot. Because if he doesn't, do well here and keep his nose clean, he's out of hockey, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Out of NHL hockey anyway. So yeah. I never thought he wasn't the guy to buy in. I just think he's just a terrible hockey player. Like, there's two different things.
Yeah. Two different things. Absolutely.
So initially I was like, okay, maybe it's Lemieux, but Lemieux's not seeing a lot of ice time, which is kind of what we hoped for. He's there really for spring.
On the extra gritty nights,
Bunting,
you bet.
Bunting has not been great, but he's got 9 points. So he's averaging, 0.59 points a game, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but the more I thought about it, I said, I don't know that's it. I think some of it is guys like, sorry to pick on you, Marty Natchez, just trying to do too much, right? They're what I really think it comes down to, Ray, and we're almost a quarter of the way through the season. Like, this should not be an issue, is trust.
Yeah.
And that's going to feed into our kind of last topic for today in terms of defensive pairings. Because if you can't, in Rod's system, you have to trust that your teammate is going to be where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like the guys are doing that. And so guys are in the wrong position. And that's what so whenever he said bought in, I've taken a step back from, I don't think it's like the general philosophy of this is the way we're going to play that they're not buying into. It's not understanding, like, when we draw this up in a certain way, or we talk about this is the way we're going to do it, like, that's the way you have to do it.
Yeah.
Rod's system does not encourage creativity.
Not a lot.
Aho's detriment, for example. Aho is a 40-goal scorer on almost any other team, right?
Yeah.
But in his system, when things are played appropriately, you just smother the opposition, and then you put up your 3 or 4 goals, and you win games.
Grind them to death.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at. I think it's not about guys not understanding or being willing to play the way that they're supposed to. I now see it as guys are either trying to do too much or they're overthinking, and they just need to do what they're told. They need to put trust in their teammates, because that's what I think I'm really seeing the most of is guys not being in the right position. They're pinching at the wrong times, and the forwards aren't back, and those types of issues. And, 20 games in the season, you can say, hey, it's early. There's still 3/4 of the season to go.
Yeah.
But things should be getting better. And, for every game like last night where we go, oh, it's getting better, they drop a stinker to the Flyers, and you're like, oh, like, that was ugly. So,
yeah.
What do you think, man? Because that's where I'm at now. Like I said, but do you agree or?
Yeah, no, I'm with you wholeheartedly. One thing that I think it is important to point out, and if you've been in the rink watching the Hurricanes play, you get a better aspect of it than those of us, who are just watching it on TV. But for people like you and I, we know what we're looking for. We've seen it a lot. The style that the Hurricanes play man to man. Let's go. I love infusing basketball into our discussions. They play man to man, and it is infinitely more difficult, more responsibility. It's just much, much harder way to play. But Rod has figured out if everyone can do this on a consistent basis, there is massive success. It's difficult. It's hard. It's exhausting. Like, look at the movement when they're playing their defense man to man in their end. It is. My legs get tired just watching it. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
you can see it. They're playing when you watch the other team play their defense and it's zone. It's if the puck gets into this area, this is my responsibility. But once it goes away, I go back to my spot and just keep an eye out, right? It's a whole different. So for the new players coming in who look at it, yes, I can understand there might be difficulty mentally to tune yourself to that spot and say, this is the way it's going to go and this is the way how it's going to work. It's a hard thing to pick up. Playing man-to-man on ice, I never thought, frankly, that you'd see that sort of thing very often. It's happened for a long time, but you don't really notice it. And you can't play it for a huge long time. It's kind of like in basketball where you can switch back and forth playing between man-to-man and zone, right? Well, they don't switch.
Yeah. No.
And they play it for 200 feet of the ice. You know what I mean?
82
so
games a year plus, right?
Yeah, it's difficult and it's hard. So I can kind of understand it, but in the same respect, look, it's a winning formula. It's a winning formula, and you have to be in. You have to be in because what any basketball fan will tell you is when one of your players is not playing man to man, you're going to give up points. If you're not doing your job and you're not staying with the plan, you are going to give up points and it is not going to go well.
Truth.
That's where it starts and ends. So I think the importance of Jordan speaking up the way he did, it might have maybe a little more impact because again, he's not the loud rah guy that, he's kind of, I mean, he's not nearly as quiet as guys like Aho or Teravainen, but he's a leader. And when the leader speaks amongst the players, there's weight there. So let's hope that they're on board. Now, is it going to matter if they continue to struggle this way until 3/4 of the way through the season? If they're still in the playoff hunt and if they're still in a playoff ranking, it's not going to matter. And let's tell everyone, and it's something that I've accepted, the Metropolitan Championship regular season is wonderful. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'd love to have 4 in a row, but
yeah, it would be
3 in
cool.
a row is hard enough. I mean, for those who haven't followed.
Yeah, but it's like get into the playoffs. Just be in the playoffs and healthy. Yes, thank you. Be in the playoffs, healthy, and we'll be okay. But it's just there's a lot of pearl clutching right now, I think. And which is fair because of where the bar is, but I think we're going to be okay. But I think it was really meaningful that Jordo was vocal enough that went straight to the public. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and without outing anyone in particular.
Yes, and we don't want that. You don't want that at all.
That's where things get ugly.
Let's change to another hot topic. And you perhaps with the greatest Twitter X post ever about what you would rather do than watch 777 together as a pairing. And I couldn't have echoed it more. I'll let you put it out there now. It funny as heck and accurate, because I think that's how a lot of people feel. Let them have it.
It's something we used to say on the farm sometime.
Yeah.
I would rather poop in my hand and clap than do X thing. And what I said was then see 77 and 7 on the ice together. And lo and behold, for the Penguins' first goal, you have Orlov watch the puck go by him. Then you have TA covering Sidney Crosby for some unknown. I mean, my fantasy team appreciates it because I have Sidney, but literally just is like, oh, I'm just going to watch the puck go by me to Sidney flipping Crosby
behind
me
at the back door.
That's definitely 100% not going in every single time. Yeah, I was right. You know, I had to go wash my hands last night. So this to me is different than Tony DeAngelo was bad at hockey. This is Orlov and DeAngelo together are awful. Just brutal. They're a combined negative 21, dude, and we haven't even played 20 games.
Yeah.
They're brutal. And this is not about taking either of them and getting rid of either of them off the team. It's that Orlov, when he's paired with Chatfield, plays pretty decently.
Yep.
And when he's paired with DeAngelo, he's just awful. And the real thing, just real quick, the real thing for me is Rod said he didn't want to split the top four, right? Well, I like our top four guys. So what does he have to do after that goal? He has to split his top four guys because DeAngelo and Orlov together, it doesn't work. It's this year's first line Martinook. And just to remind everybody, Martinook against New Jersey was phenomenal, tied a franchise record. But we had to go through 82 games to get 3 good ones.
Yeah.
That's it's not worth it. Just don't. It's, you know, DeAngelo has 1 goal and 6 assists for 7 points this season. 4 of those are on the power play. So he has contributed assists on about 28% of our power plays.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, and everybody's like, well, who's going to quarterback, you know, the power play? Walt Ruff asked this, and apologies to Walt. I wasn't trying to infer yesterday that Walt doesn't, you know, thinks that he doesn't make mistakes or anything. So apologies to him. That wasn't my point. My point was just some people think that because Walt works with the team that he must know hockey better than other folks. And between you and I, we've talked. We have like 70 years watching hockey.
Yep.
Right? And the problem with the power play isn't the quarterback. No. Shea can quarterback it. Burns can quarterback it. Pesce can quarterback it. He's not great at it, but he could still do it because the problem is down low and on the half wall.
Yeah.
And DeAngelo doesn't change the problem down low or on the half wall. It just doesn't. It's just, you know, if you want to keep him in there as an 11-7 specialist, fine. I'm over it. Like, I will concede that. But don't ever throw him out there with Orlov again. I literally don't want to see it even once.
Here's the crazy thing, and there's a couple of aspects in this. Rod wants to make that work because he doesn't want to mess with the first 2 pairings. He does not want to mess it with. So and so he puts them out again last night, and it wasn't just the goal that they allowed. It was the prime opportunities given up when they were on the ice together. The hot knife through butter way that the Penguins were able to get to high danger opportunities going through both a slow and weaker TA and an out of position Orlov. It was It was insane. They got so many chances, and thank goodness for Father Finn, who played an outstanding game last night, because that game could have been done in the first. As great as the game was last night, and as well as they played, it could have been over in the first.
Yeah.
With how many times they got to the net and made those opportunities. It was crazy. And look, D'Angelo, now I've said this a couple of times. Number one, Orlov, take a seat. Go up in the press box. Watch the game from up there. I don't care how much money you're making. Orlov is not playing great at all. As an individual, how many points does he have? Maybe 2. Does he have 2 points even?
He has a sneaky 6.
A sneaky 6.
Go with negative 11, but yes.
Yeah, exactly. Set them both individually up into the press box. TA can go to the press box one night and Orlov the next, and get a look at what's going on. Pay attention, do some homework, take some notes, because Chatfield up there can carry the load in both of their cases as a partner. Chatfield would make Orlov better as a pair. He would make TA better as, well, maybe not, he won't make him the player better, but it's a better security blanket.
Chatfield Orlov statistically is far and away better.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not even close. Orlov is like a different player. The Kings were a different team when they split them up last night.
They were. That was the cause. Having them split up, and I think what we might see, Rod knows what he's doing. He knows what he wants. So I could see 777 going out there a few more nights in an effort to make it work, to kind of, I don't know if it's force it to work or try to get them to sync up and actually play well together. And then if he sees that they're still struggling, he can switch it like he did yesterday, and then you're fixed. But the problem is you're giving up 20 minutes a night on an experiment that way when we already know the answer. We already know the answer.
What in my look, if he really wants that to be the third pair, don't do that now. Give Orlov Chatfield. Give Orlov, Pesci, not Shea, but Pesci.
Yeah.
Give him somebody defensively sound.
Mm-hmm.
Let him get comfortable. Let him figure out, this is where I need to not be behind the goal when my defensive partner is also behind the goal. Let him figure out those things until he's comfortable with the way he's supposed to play.
Yeah.
And then you can put them back together and try the experiment, because then he's going to know what he should be doing instead of trying to figure out what he's doing when he and his partner are both pinching. You know what I mean? It's being done back. I know I wasn't going to said I wasn't going to bag on TA, but I will say this. I think I sent you a message and I joked that TA almost got an assist at the end of the first. Now, that was on Rust's shorthanded attempt, since TA passed it right to him. But, that would have been good for me, because once again, Brian Rust on my fantasy team. But
yeah,
I would rather win games, And like I said, I'm not trying to bag on either of them individually. Like, I'm beyond that. I'm just tired of that. However, the two of them together is like the Adam Sandler movie where it was a Big Daddy, where the delivery guy is like, oh, it's like a peanut butter and tuna fish. Like, yes, that's Orlov and TA to me right now. It's peanut butter and tuna fish. It just, might it work once in a bazillion, games? Maybe, but it's not working now. It consistently has not worked. And then last night, the proof was there. You have to break up Shea and Pesci because you don't have a third pairing that you can trust. So now you're messing up the top four, which is what RBA said he didn't want to do. So I love Rod. The people who are like fire Rod or Rod's got to go or
I
overhaul,
heard that last night. What the heck?
I know Kat said she heard it from her seats. That's ridiculous. But to say that Rod doesn't have blinders on sometimes and that he seems to not see some things that are pretty obvious to everybody else, I think is a fair statement.
Well, he may be the eternal optimist too. The one who sees in his mind, he sees certain talents and skills. There's no reason why it shouldn't work. You know what I mean? When you look at it, I suppose there's no reason why it shouldn't work. Orlov is not nearly, or has not been as, sorry, in the past, he has not been as bad as what he has been now. And so you see the skill, you see the talent, and he just may believe, look, it'll happen. When it drops in, we're going to be cooking, right? And so that's what he wants to go for. But look, you said you didn't want to bag on him. I'm going to. TA is a terrible defender, and I grow tired of the people who will look at me making that statement and say, oh, you must be a liberal. Yeah. You must not like what, he says off the ice. No, I could give a rat's hiney what he thinks off the ice about other things. What I care about is what I see on the ice. And if you open your eyes and watch him play, he is a defensive liability. End of story. And for those of you who said, well, where would the power play be? You know what? Let's figure this out, okay? Brad, you're good with math. So the average power play opportunities per game, is it fair to say we get 3, maybe 4?
Nah, it's probably closer to 3.
Closer to 3. So that's 6 minutes of hockey where you have the power play, okay? The man advantage. Now, what is the average? Sorry, let's not even go average. Let's go to the very top. The very best power play unit scores how many percentage? Like at what percentage? 25?
The New Jersey Devils, sir, are at 39%. To be
39%.
Which
okay.
It normally is more like, it used to be like 25. Now I think it's creeping up into, you have 4 teams above 30 right now.
Okay. So let's say 30, just for argument's sake. So 30% of 6 minutes on average is 2 minutes. What these people are saying as having Tony DeAngelo as a power play specialist means he is great for 2 minutes on average per game. If he is trotted out onto the ice for 10, 12 minutes a night, he is a liability for 75% of the time he's on the ice.
Oh, it's worse than that, sir. Because
it's worse than that.
Units.
Yeah.
Generally, the power play 1 unit gets a little over a minute of ice time per power play, and power play 2 gets like 40 to 50 seconds.
So there you go. You want him on the team and in the lineup every night for a minute and a half of benefit, and taking a chance on you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wasn't going to go into this, although I thought about it. But what's funny to me is the comments that I see from folks who love Tony DeAngelo are, you don't like him because of his politics. And that's not wholly true for me, because people's personality, like people's character is important to me in my hockey players. It is.
Yeah.
I don't bag Jordan Stahl, and we know how the whole Stahl family now feels about
Yep.
things. I don't bag Jalen Chatfield.
Nope.
In fact, my reverse retro is a Jalen Chatfield jersey. I don't like his politics.
Yeah.
Kid's tough. Kid's a good hockey player. He's
Yeah.
not great, but he's dependable and solid. He's got wheels. I bag on TA because he's not good at playing hockey.
Yeah.
Like you said, he will get you the occasional point. And in his first season here, he got you a lot of points. There were a lot of secondary assists there. That's great.
He did. Yes.
Brady Shea has come on and can fulfill that role. And that's where I kind of owed Walt Ruff an apology was, I wasn't trying to insinuate Walt isn't fallible, but, Walt's like, well, who's going to run the power play? It's like, well, Brady Shea can run the power play because the issue is not the power play quarterback. The issue is down low.
Yeah.
So Brady Shea can do it because he's not bad at it. And people who say it's Orlov is not really an offensive defenseman. I feel like people think he is, maybe who haven't seen enough of him. And it's not that he's not capable because all defensemen are capable, but he's not a D'Angelo. Like he really is more of a transitional defenseman.
Yeah.
A puck moving defenseman, but he's not the guy who necessarily is going to be a great power play quarterback. What he should be when he's paired with somebody appropriately is the guy who's going to make that zone exit pass, to a streaking Aho who will then score a goal. Like that's what Dimitri is.
Yeah.
So I don't think Orlov is the solution for power play 2. I think Shea is a much better option personally.
Yep.
But Orlov needs some time it's a tough system. We saw Burns struggle. And
thank you for bringing that up.
I would like to think Orlov will get it, but what if he doesn't at $8 million a year?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a lot of coin.
Alexander Semin came in. They gave him a huge contract. We all know how that worked out since we finally have gotten.
Are we out from under that?
We are.
Oh, thank goodness.
Last year.
Okay. Man, oh man.
But yeah. So yeah, going back to what you were saying, when people say, why are you bag on him? It's his politics. My question is, tell me what he does really well. Tell me what he does, what he brings to the team that nobody else can do. And nobody ever answers that. What I hear is, he's good on the power play. Well, he can be good on the power play, but so can other people. Like our power play wasn't amazing when he was here. It was still kind of crappy. He's not a McDavid where he can not play defense and he puts up so many points that you go, hey, it's just totally worth it.
Yeah.
He's just not. So what is he going to bring to the table? And just to be fair about it, like, so goes Tony D'Angelo is not why the team is not playing well in general. But
no,
him and Orlov together is part of the reason the team is playing terrible. And that's what I've been, really upset about the last couple of weeks is it's not one person. It's the two of them together just aren't working. Do something else. We've been known as a defensive stalwart for several years now.
Yep.
Our penalty kill almost broke 90% last year. It was like 89 and change or 88 and change in the city, which would have been a record.
It just
and
glorious
this year,
watching.
Goals against? Tons of goals against.
Too many.
Way too many.
You know what? It was funny, and I'll touch on this just once more, and I apologize. The people that are blanket saying that people that do not like D'Angelo, the only reason why they bag on him is because of his politics, are the same people that will find anything to blame for goals allowed while he's on the ice than him. For instance, as Kat pointed out last night, the goal that Crosby scored, the first one, they blamed Ronta. They blamed Ronta.
I actually chuckled when I saw that.
I was like, these people aren't watching the game. And they're just not watching the game. They're not watching him. They're giving him carte blanche. They just will not criticize him. But you see over and over again, I could have, and I wish I would have, and I thought about this after the game. I wish I would have recorded and posted every single opportunity where he made a terrible judgment decision that led to grade A goals. There were at least four. There were at least four.
You know what's
minimum
funny?
all game.
We bag on him on social media when it's appropriate, I think, on the podcast. It's my podcast, and that's rude. It's our podcast.
No,
you and I have both several times this season like texted each other and been like, "Wow, that was a great play by Tony DeAngelo. Like
yes,
that was the best defensive play I've ever seen him make in a Canes uniform."
Yep.
And I went on social media and said, like, wow, like Tony DeAngelo like played good defense tonight. Like, wow, that's awesome. Like this
the Flyers game. Let me jump out here and say TA made a couple of beautiful passes. That one pass from behind the net, straight up center ice, right to the tape of Bunting that set him in on that breakaway. I mean, Bunting didn't score. He rocked it off the iron. Those are great passes and should be commended. Yeah. He made a great pass.
He made a great sliding stop. Just to speak specifically about a defensive play, he made a great, slide that prevented what would have been a cross ice pass and probably a goal.
Yeah. He has done that, and that's that's what you want out of your defenseman, right? You want them to make those kind of plays. I will take fantastic defensive plays from DeAngelo over and over again if he never scores another point. If he never scores another point all season, if he can give me defense, fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah. Maybe we're just old in that we expect our defensemen to be able to play defense, but I'm with you. It's about team trust. You have to be able to trust that even though in Rod's system the defensemen are pinching, right? They're contributing to the offense. Like that's expected of them. Mm-hmm. That might be one of the reasons Chatfield is not getting as much playing time because he doesn't put up the points necessarily. Like he puts up even fewer than expected, right? His goal score is lower than it really should be. But when he or his partner make a mistake, Chatfield's got the wheels and gets back and covers.
Oh my God.
And that's
fast.
as important as putting points on the board. If you can't keep the puck out of your net and you're leaving Kochetkov and Ranta hanging out to dry, what are you going to do? Like the way our team has played this year, I feel like the goalies could be stick of the game almost every game because they're having to make 10-bell saves repeatedly every single game. Ranta last night, we're giving the game stick to Jarvis.
Yes.
But it would, to me, it was Ranta until Jarvis was back checking and ended up throwing himself in the boards hard.
Thank you
and then
for
goes
bringing
down
that.
And almost scores a goal and then scores a goal and then gets the empty netter, which was, the empty netter just, it's an empty netter.
Is what it is.
Right. But to me, it was Ranta, like keeping them in the game the whole time until that. And we don't want to give the game stick to Ranta, Kochetkov or Anderson every single game. Because they're having to bail the boys out. Like that's not fair to to everybody, right? Thank you for bringing up Jarvis. So we'll get off 777. Let's just say I'm not sure what to expect in the coming games, which we'll just lay out here before we wrap things up. The coming games, but Jarvie, that kid's got will. He's got grit and determination, and I love him to death. That back check where he was going so fast, he slammed into the board so hard, we all felt it watching at home. I think we all.
I freaked out. I was scared that he was hurt. But he puts himself out there every night. Every night. He shows that will. He wants to prove who he is and his value, and it's glorious. Jarvie, you are the man. I love him. Absolutely love him.
I'd love to have him on the podcast sometime for 10 minutes. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of fanboy, problems for you and I, to be sure. But I'd love to get him on.
Yeah.
He just amazing. I mean, he could give us tips on Fortnite and stuff, maybe we could start that too.
Oh,
But,
I wonder if he plays League of Legends.
yeah, there you go. You never know. Let's look ahead to the games coming up this week. What are we staring at here? Not too many, right? We got. I mean, this is a long homestand time-wise, but not for many games.
Yeah, I mean Edmonton on Wednesday, so it's the second 3-day break for the Hurricanes, which is kind of good, right? I mean, the Oilers are coming to town. I mean, it's Draisaitl and McDavid.
Yeah,
but we have a Jacob Slavin, so I'm not overly concerned about the Oilers. The Oilers, for a team that was expected to maybe win the Stanley Cup and certainly to be probably the Western Conference Final champ, they're terrible.
Jay Woodcroft should never have been fired.
No,
it was not on him.
Not his fault.
That was the easy way out. The problem with this team is goaltending. And if you're worried about the Hurricane fans, we've joked about how the backup goaltender always burns us. Yeah, there's no fear of that. There's no fear of that with the Oilers. Okay, your worry is dealing with Draisaitl and dealing with McDavid and not taking many penalties. The goaltending with Edmonton stinks. The D has not been great. They've been terrible. And people keep saying it. I don't know. Like McDavid was hurt leading into the outdoor game that they played against Calgary a couple weeks back,
which were the ugliest pants I've ever seen in hockey. Out there. Oh my gosh, those were like baby poop brown. Those were just
yikes. Oof. But the issue is people still say that he may still be hurt. He may be still lingering, and that's why he's nowhere near scoring at the pace that you always expect him to.
It's crazy that putting all your eggs into like one or two player basket is maybe not the best way to win a Stanley Cup. Crazy. Who
knew? I mean,
you know what's funny, Ray?
What's that?
The San Jose Sharks, what did they start the year? 0-7, 0-9 or something like it was bad, right?
It was really bad.
It was among the worst starts in history.
Yep.
The Oilers are only up over the Sharks by 4 points. They're 5-10, and the Sharks are 3-13.
Yeah.
If you would have told me that Draisaitl and McDavid are fronting a team and they're going to be 29th out of 32 teams after the first quarter of the season, I'd have been like, you're nuts. It's great for fantasy hockey because I don't have McDavid this year.
Oh, yeah.
So it's letting the rest of us, keep up a little bit. But my goodness. I mean, they're just brutal.
I'll tell you what, the Oilers were the team that I thought the Sharks would get their first win off of. And the Flyers the night before or 2 nights before were the ones that did it. So the Flyers were the ones that gave the Sharks their first point. I had my money on the Oilers, and the Oilers didn't fail. They lost that game too. So look, the Oilers prime for the taking. That's got to be a win. Yeah. Also coming up, we also have the Lightning back again.
They're gonna play us a lot tougher than that 4-0.
Oh yeah,
that's gonna be a good game. I mean, it's always a good game. I think
it is. I mean, you're right. It's always a good game. And then on Sunday, before we get back, Columbus comes to town, and they are lost. So look, let's say it now. We better get 4 points out of the next 6.
Absolutely, because you're playing 2 of the 4 worst teams in hockey, and you're playing the Lightning.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to bag the Lightning because those guys always play pretty well. They're right there with you. They got 20 points. You got 20 points. That's a pretty even matchup. But Edmonton, surprisingly, and then Columbus, not surprisingly.
Yeah,
I mean, you should win those.
Where is Gaudreau? Honestly, Johnny Gaudreau, I mean, his season this year is making the Flames feel better about letting him go. You know what I mean? Like this season, he's disappeared. I don't know what's going on with him. So we'll be able to talk before that Blue Jackets game. But in the same, like, look, this is where we're at. We're okay. I know this sounded like probably a bit on the negative side. It's not negative. It's just pointing to facts. We don't.
And I have the flu, so I don't. I told people last night, like, just don't expect me to be super upbeat today.
We just don't gloss things over. When we see it, we'll say it, and our eyes aren't deceiving us. You know, the problems that we've had, we've been able to point out. Now we just need our beloved Hurricanes to fix it, and they will. They just
need to get on a roll. I mean, that's really what needs to happen. They need to, instead of a 2-game or a 3-game winning streak, we need to see a little bit longer winning streak, right? Let's get a 4-gamer. Let's get 5 games in a row here.
That would be fantastic. I would just be happy to see the consistent hard work effort without the boneheaded mistakes. And that's what we've become used to. We're, let's face it, Hurricanes fans, these past 5.5 years, we've had it real good, pampered, if you will, by the effort that has always been out there and what Rod has brought to this team. When it disappears, it's like, oh, don't give that away. Keep it up. Hey, where are you going? Like, where's our team? I want to see Canes hockey every night, not
absolutely
3 out of 16 games.
Amen.
I want it every night. Every night. Brad, I want you to feel better, man. Feel better. Get well. We hope that everyone who is listening to the Storm Cellar is happy, healthy, and safe. Brad, if people want to join us, they want to talk with us, they want to be a part of the Storm Cellar, we promise we won't give you the flu or any other debilitating sicknesses in the cellar. How do they find us? Where do they get us?
Social media is pretty much Storm Cellar 97. That's on Twitter. I refuse to call it the other name. Facebook.com/Storm Cellar 97. stormcellar97@gmail.com if you want to email us. If you listen to us, whether it's on Apple Podcast or I forget the other one now, Spotify or any of those things. If you have a few minutes, give us a rating if you don't mind. If you like listening to us, it would help out. We do this ad free. We're not part of a network or anything. We don't run ads. This is just a couple of guys who love the team talking with other folks who love the team. And so, our range has gotten bigger. It continues to grow. And if you like listening to us, or if you don't, let us know. Tell us what's up, right? Next week, we'll have Annie Goldman on, a huge Caniac, longtime supporter. It'd be fun to have her on. We were going to have Andrew on this week. We are rescheduled him for January.
Okay.
In part because I just didn't think that I would be good with a guest today.
Yeah.
So, we reach out to us, right? We're here to talk hockey with folks. We try for the most part to be upbeat, although we always say we are realists. And, I think for the most part, we'd love to hear more from fans, right? It's, our podcast is in part about the Caniacs. That's what makes this team different than every other team.
Yeah.
We have the diehards. They aren't necessarily the biggest quantity of diehards, but I think the quality of our fans is second to none.
There's no question. And it is what we do best. Having that extra seat or two in the Storm Cellar where we can find out how you became a Caniac, the origins, and just enjoy people's stories. Hockey fans are passionate, so passionate, and they get that drive, that feel. We had so many amazing guests join us, and hearing their stories brightens. I mean, let's be honest, it brightens my day. Like that's probably. I mean, it's like. It's a little on the selfish side for me. Us doing it this way, it's selfish because it makes me feel good. I like hearing those stories.
Absolutely.
So hit us up. I'm at Judge Wapner 10. That's where you'll find me on Twitter as well. Drop us a line, follow us, give us your rating, and don't be afraid to call us out. You and I are big boys. We can handle criticism. I mean, if you don't, and frankly, if I'll throw this out there right now, lovers of D'Angelo, if you don't like what we think, I want you to come join us. Let's talk it out. Let's talk it out. Yeah, I mean, the politics don't matter.
He's a good hockey player, and this is why. Just show it to me. I'm happy to be. I've always said, as somebody who is a realist and a firm believer in science, the big thing with science is when you get new information that should change your point of view, then you change your point of view.
100%.
That's all I'm asking for.
There we go. That's it. We've done so much, Brad. I've remembered it this time. I'm gonna let you go get your rest, get your fluids, feel well. There is one thing that we won't forget this time. And that's go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.